Now, this is snake country out near Castaic, California. Jim Danielson rounded up quite a vicious assortment of vipers for this experiment. Got Pacific rattlers and big reds and western diamondbacks, sidewinders. They're 10 slithering specimens. Mine was the rope detail. Into the horsehair barricade they go, and now let's see what happens. They seem to be headed for the nearest exit, which is across the rope. Doesn't seem to bother him a bit. Over and out they go, one by one. Hey, watch this little sidewinder here. He can't make up his mind. I guess to him it looks like another snake, huh? Well, we can't stay here forever, so over the top we go, and... that leaves nobody. Well, there you are, Mr. Stubendorf. That experiment, I believe, to me, proves conclusively that not 1 out of 10 snakes is afraid to cross this famous horsehair barrier here. I will have to put it down to just a superstition, but Jim Danielson, how do you suppose that superstition started?
Well, Art, it is generally believed that snakes have extremely sensitive skins. Take a look at this horsehair rope, and you'll see quite a prominent raising of the hairs on the rope.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that the old-timers thought that the snake coming up to it would shy away from it. However, experts know that a snake will crawl over sharp stones, glass, anything of that kind, and certainly the old-timers were wrong in that snakes have much tougher bellies than they realized.
I can see that. I've been knowing that myth there for a long while. Will a snake crawl over it? I never knew which to believe until right now.
Now here's Jack Smith, and you asked for it.
Just as our camera sees it inside that car. Woolman shoves hard in the door with his shoulder. No success. Uses his hands to press the window glass to loosen it and roll it down. No success. Notice under the water the door is opening. Our underwater camera catches Woolman swimming out of the car. He's safe on the surface. Results of phase number 1. With all 4 windows of a submerged car closed up tight. Wait until the car is nearly filled with water and the pressure inside and outside is equalized. Then escape is best achieved by opening a door. It's quicker than rolling down a window. Now for phase number 2. In the second test, George Watts of the National Safety Council recommended that all 4 windows be opened wide. This time when the car is submerged, water will pour in on Woolman from all sides. The question in our minds, will rushing waters through those windows prevent him from swimming safely out of the car? Put yourself in Woolman's shoes, my friends. It takes nerve to play the role of a human guinea pig. This test, remember, is under controlled conditions. However, what he accomplishes before your eyes may help save a future life. A close-up view of what happens inside as cold death sweeps in around you. Our underwater cameraman follows him through that window. The results of phase number 2. With all windows opened in a submerged car, wait until the car is almost completely filled. Then escape is easier either through a window or through a door.
What you have just learned might save your life someday. Of course, we hope you'll never have necessity to use this knowledge. This is Mr. George Watts of the National Safety Council.
To our knowledge, an experiment like this has never been conducted before.
If we've helped just one person, it's been worthwhile. It was nice in you to be with us today.
It's been a valuable experience.
Well, Jerry Anderson, through your curiosity, someone, somewhere, someday may be better prepared to face a dire emergency. You asked for it.
Now here's Jack Smith, and you asked for it.
Greetings from the crossroads of New England. We are in the stamping and wrapping room of the baseball division of A.G. Spaulding. Our baseballs are principally 3 parts: the stitched horsehide covering, the wound cotton and wool filling, and the cushion cord center. These are cork pills which are molded into the sphere that you now see in front of you. Cork pills are then covered with a cement solution, which in turn is assembled in a combination of 2 black rubber shells with a red rubber washer. First the cork is put into one shell, then the rubber gasket placed over that, and then the second and final shell is assembled around that. The assembled cork pill with 2 black outer rubber shells are placed into a composition of rubber in a blanket form. This is, after completed, put into a powder solution and then punched on a punch-out machine to the proper slugs, which will then be molded into an official MBR center. The assembled MBR is put into the molding press where pressure and intense heat is applied to the ball for a specified cure time. After your cure is completed, your press drops down. The operator takes out the molded MBR, which still has a ring of flash around the MBR center itself. That, in turn, is put into a washing machine where it is left for approximately 3/4 of an hour, where washing and tumbling action takes place to clean the MBR center and to remove the excess flash from the center itself. When it comes out of the washing machine, you then have a completed center. The core is now complete, and we are ready for our second operation, that of winding many layers of yarn onto the baseball. This is John Bennett, our machine setup man of the winding room. John will tell us how a baseball is wound.
The first operation is the chunk line, from which we put 120 yards on for 4-ply yarn.
That machine shuts off automatically at the end of 120 yards.
That's right, except for the size, and as it builds up, it shuts off when it gets to that size.
And then after you wind for what you call your chunk wind or first wind, where does the ball go then?
Well, that's taken to the second operation, which we call the white yarn, and that's a 3-ply yarn. And on that, we put 45 yards.
45 yards.
Then we take it to the third wind, which is a 3-ply gray. And on that, we put 53 yards. From there, it goes to what we call the cotton finish. We put 150 yards, which smooths it over and finishes it. All our balls must pass rigid inspection. This girl is making sure the ball is exactly 4.5 ounces and is 8 7/8 in circumference.
Thanks, John, for showing us how it's done. To hold the yarn in place, to give the ball added resilience, and to create greater adhesion between the center and the horseside, a thin coating of rubber is added just before covering. Now the ball is ready to meet its horsehide covering. These are punched out by these machines. This is John Beatty, our stitching room foreman. John, there must be 150 girls out here all sewing on covers. And how many stitches does it take to stitch a baseball?
There's 108 stitches in each baseball.
And how many baseballs will a fully trained stitcher do in one day?
Well, our average is about 6 balls an hour. There you are, Doug. A big league ball ready for the home run.
That's how a baseball is made.
Now here's Jack Smith, and you asked for it.
This is Bill Haast with his assistant Nancy Harrell. He's a scientist who is away with reptiles. He once financed his research by putting on shows in which he astonished audiences by catching cobras with his bare hands, a feat he has promised to perform for us today. He then proceeded to extract the venom from the snakes, a technique that he will also duplicate. Most of the venom that Bill Haast obtains by risking his life goes to research laboratories around the world to save the lives of others. It's the principal ingredient of a drug called provenom, which has astounded doctors with its almost miraculous effect on arthritis and multiple sclerosis victims. Although Bill provides this drug to doctors at cost, only a few states, such as Florida, have allowed him to treat otherwise incurable patients with it. Many people collect snakes as a hobby and consider them fascinating pets. Now, they're moving a serpent called a coach whip to another room. Its bite isn't fatal, but Nancy makes the mistake of taking it for granted just a moment too long.
Ouch! You guys didn't expect.
Now, to anyone who has aspirations to be a snake handler, this would be a better reminder than a string around the finger. Being around snakes can be a risky business, as Bill Haast learned early in his career. Therefore, as a scientist, he decided to minimize his risk. Now, to do this, he began injecting small doses of cobra venom into his veins 30 years ago. Today, his immunity is such that he's survived, amazingly, 173 poisonous snake bites. But every bite causes him severe pain, and he's been close to death at least a dozen times. To obtain venom needed for medical research, Bill and Nancy usually milk the king cobra once a week in the relative safety of the laboratory. But just for our You Asked For It cameras, Bill has agreed to show us once again the technique that earned him worldwide fame as a snake handler. The reason this ominous-looking creature is called a king cobra is because it's the only living creature that can kill an elephant with one bite. Now, even though Bill has been doing this for 30 years, when you're dealing with a king cobra, you can't relax for a second, or your next move may be your last, immunity or no immunity. Bill's concentration must be almost painful in its intensity. Talk about being eyeball to eyeball. Bill's only means of trapping the snake is to force it to confront him head on. Now, this means he has to get the snake angry enough to strike at him. A serpent's striking range equals the distance it has reared itself off the ground. Well, Bill is now a perfect target. His every move is life or death. The two opponents eye each other warily, one poised to strike, the other to seize. And now, this is the right instant. Wow, what a catch!
Now here's Jack Smith, and you asked for it.
Going down. Always that noisy down there, Jim?
Sure is, Jack. This is our machine shop where we repair all our heavy machinery. Now let's tour the mine.
Now in Salt City, over 1,000 feet below Detroit. By Jeep, Jim takes us 2 miles from here to here, along a white underground highway surrounded by millions of tons of salt.
What's that rig, Jim? That's an undercutter, Jack. Very similar to heavy power saws you've seen. It prepares the wall for blasting, makes a 10-foot cut about 5 inches wide. We asked him to pull the machine out a little farther, Jack, so you can see it better. Okay, fellas, turn it on.
Now let's see where Jim Hutton and his partner, mine electrician Leonard Fox, take us next.
There's our drill rig, Jack, designed especially for this mine. Those are Stratton drills. Each one bores 1 1/4 inch hole 10 feet deep.
Jim, that looks like a rather dangerous operation. Ever have any accidents?
Well, a minor one now and then. Fellow with a cut hand, but nothing too serious. There are about 40 holes drilled into each salt base. And that's what goes inside the holes, Jack. Sticks of dynamite.
Looks like you use a lot of them.
Yeah, each hole is loaded with about 10 pounds of dynamite. That makes a total of about 400 pounds for just one blast. They're primed with electric caps.
Will we get to see the blast, Jim?
Not in your life, Jack. All machines are hauled away and not a single man remains down here in the mine. After the base blows, look at the result. 1,000 tons of salt are taken out from one explosion. And this is our electric loader. Watch it move the salt into the truck.
How big is that bucket, Jim?
2.5 cubic yards, Jack. It has a special shortened boom due to our low height in the mine. This bucket carries about 2.5 tons of salt. The salt weighing about 1 ton per cubic yard. We're moving to the hopper now. The salt is crushed down here in the mine, too. Salt dumps from the truck into the hopper. Takes only a few seconds. At this point, we call this a primary crusher, where salt is taken from its largest size down to approximately an 8-inch size, 8 inches in diameter.
All this 1,000 feet under Detroit. Hard to believe.
There's plenty more to see, Jack. From here, the salt is moved by a conveyor belt 1/4 mile long. Salt is sorted into various grades here, rocks removed by hand. This is what we call the preparation station, where salt is taken to its final form. Here, from the 8-inch size, it's run through various crushers, reduced to 3/4-inch size. It's screened into separate grades, what we call number 2 and number 1, CC and FC, finally down to 200 mesh. That's almost fine dust. These are storage bins where salt is stored until it's ready to go to the surface.
Hey, what's that coming down?
That's a skip hoist, Jack, to take the salt above ground. It holds about 10 tons of salt, makes a trip in about 1 minute from bottom to top, including the unloading process.
The skip's almost full. And up it goes.
See you on the surface, Jack. Well, Jack, that's the story. So now, so long from Detroit.
So long, Jim, and many thanks. The city of salt beneath Detroit, Michigan. You asked for it.